Ladies and gentlemen, I have a new favorite album of the year. I am Fable Joey, and today I am reviewing the Growlers' 7th studio album, Natural Affair. It is 12 songs, 41 minutes long, and I honestly cannot wait to talk about this thing, so I'm going to go over my thoughts on the Growlers first. So the Growlers have been one of my favorite bands for a bit now. I think 2013's Chinese Fountain, their album, really brought me in, and as much as I love their older, earlier stuff in their discography, Chinese Fountain is where I realized, wow, I really love this band. It was followed up by 2016's City Club, which was produced by Julian Casablancas and was my previous favorite Growlers album. That thing was sleek, it was fun, and I loved it. Even Casual Acquaintances from last year was quite a fun album, and I did like a couple tracks. But we're not here to talk about previous Growlers albums, we are here to talk about their most recent Natural Affair, which I also believe to be their best. So like I said, before we go skip over what I said at the beginning of the video, yeah, this is my favorite album of the year, and I don't feel like I need to explain myself, because I love this thing from start to finish. And before we get in to the album in general, I just want to say that to me, this album was honestly perfect. But like I said, it was perfect for me. There are certain reviews that I might read of something where I might be like, oh man, they didn't agree with me, and yeah, it kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, I really felt like every song on this thing was a love letter to me, my love of music and everything beyond. I love this thing, and I truly do feel like a lot of the songs were made for me on this thing. They all spoke out to me. I love nearly every track, and like I said, I can't wait to talk about this album. And at the end of the day, it kept me smiling throughout all 12 tracks, and that is really something special. So let's get into this album. I believe that this is pretty different for the Growlers. Most of this thing is super upbeat. You have these amazing choruses. Every single chorus on every single track hits so hard. It leaves with such a great impact, and I can't stress enough that the choruses of these songs are unbelievable. Every single one is well written, and honestly, it was just fantastic to see that. I love this album. Now let's talk about my two favorite things about it aside from the chorus, which would be the bass and synth lines, which I believe to be some of the best in the Growlers discography and some of the best I've heard in a long time. The bass lines here are fantastic. There are a lot of bass lines that carry through songs and stay consistent throughout the whole song, but yet it still feels fresh because the bass line is so cool, and the fact that I can always hear it throughout the song, I love. The bass lines here is great, and the incorporation of the synth throughout this whole album is some of my favorite that I've ever seen. There are so many cool synth breakdowns, synth solos throughout multiple tracks that just add so much to it, and I couldn't imagine the song without it. So yeah, this thing is different. It goes for 12 songs, 41 minutes long, which for me is kind of perfect length. At least for me, I really love a 40 to 45 minute album with about 12 tracks. And that's what we're getting here. And thank goodness it is, because I don't think it's a second too long. Now let's get into those favorite tracks. And as much as I would love to go over all 12 songs, that takes a long time. So I'm going to go over my favorites, starting with their opening track, Natural Affair. This was the first single to come out, and immediately this caught my attention. This song is fast moving, got a wonderfully written chorus that is super fun to sing along to. I love everything about this song, whether it be the guitars, the basses. This is just a fantastically written track, and I really can't say enough about it. It's fantastic in every way. You have such a charming chorus, and it's a perfect opener to the album. I really do believe that. If this song didn't open the album, it wouldn't really get me amped up like it does, because I listen to this song and I'm like, I'm about to hear something special, which I do. And yeah, and it sets up also the second song in the album, which if the first didn't enforce it already, you know this album is going to be a banger, because this second song is fantastic. It might be my favorite song off the album. It is called Long Hot Night, or Halfway to Certain. I love this track. If you aren't going to listen to this album at all, or maybe not going to listen to any of the songs, at least go listen to this song. Because if you're not a Growlers fan, I think it could make you a Growlers fan. Or you could at least appreciate it in some capacity. Halfway to Certain, or Long Hot Night, is unbelievable. You have such a great bass line to open the song with. Some of my favorite vocal performances from the Growlers, and just in general off the album. It's super well written. The chorus is one of the strongest in a sea of beautiful choruses. Like I said, the lyrics are just fantastic here. Everything about Long Hot Night is why I love the Growlers. It's so exciting to listen to, kept me with a smile on my face. I love this song. It's fantastic. If you're not going to listen to any other song that I say here, please go give Long Hot Night a chance. This song is fantastic, and I'm sure you'll know why once you listen to it. I love that thing. It is amazing. I really hope you guys enjoy it. And the next one I'd have to say would be truly. The best word I could use to describe this song is elegant. Everything that happens in this song is elegant, whether it be the songwriting here, which I believe is some of the best off the album. This thing is beautiful. It's a Growlers ballad that I didn't know I needed, but ended up loving. This thing is beautiful. It's so well written. The chorus hits so hard. You're listening to these words, you can feel the emotion so well throughout this song, and you can through the whole album, but truly is where it really hit me the hardest. I love that song. I think it's fantastic, and although that did hit me really hard in the feels, I did cry at a point in this album, and the song that made me cry was Shadow Woman, which is another one of my favorite tracks off the thing. It is fantastic. I don't even know how to talk about this song without, it's not sad. That's not why I cried. I cried in this song because I thought it was that good. It was so good that it brought me to tears. And if that doesn't say how good a song can be, then I don't really know what is. But yeah, that song is fantastic. It's got my favorite bass line in the whole album. Great stuff. It's perfect. It's so great, and the length is, it's really, it's perfect because it starts kind of like a slower thing, and it kind of continues that slow jam throughout the whole thing, but it's got some of my favorite lyrics on the album, and it really is a great song. It's definitely competition for Long Hot Night on whether it is my favorite song off the album, but yeah, Shadow Woman is one of the biggest bops off this thing. I love it, and I really hope if you guys listen to it that you'll like it, or if you've heard it, you enjoyed it, because I think it's super well written. It's a highlight of the album for me. I really love this thing. And another one would be Coinstar. And although it isn't my favorite off the album or anything, it's one of my favorite Growlers songs because it is just so dang fun. This song reminds me so much of a Billy Joel song, whether that be the piano or just the awesome standout vocals on this track. Everything is fantastic. It honestly kind of felt like I was taking a time machine back to the 80s, and I loved that. A lot of this album kind of made me feel like that. There were certain points, especially in the song Social Man, which isn't one that I want to talk about as a super highlight, although I do love it, just like every other song, but that song felt like an 80s disco song, and I mean that as the best compliment possible. That was amazing. So Coinstar, fantastic song, so well written and just fun. I was smiling throughout this whole thing. It's just a good song. It's a pure song. I listened to it and I'm just like, yep, I could have this on repeat the whole day and I wouldn't get bored. Coinstar is fantastic. It's fabulous. I love it. It's wonderful. And then you got Foghorn Town. Foghorn Town was the second single released, and I still think it's one of the best songs on this thing. Easily one of my favorites produced off it. It really reminds me of parts from City Club, which I appreciated, but it brought in its whole, it's got such a great feeling to listen to this song. It starts out with a funky bass line, continues through the whole song. Once again, you have a fantastic chorus that comes bursting in towards that 30-second, they don't waste a lot of time with the choruses on this album, which I love. They have a couple lines for setup, and then they go right into the chorus. And like I said, every chorus off this thing is fantastic. It's fresh, it's powerful, it's hard-hitting, and Foghorn Town is no exception. So guys, I love this thing. Those are my favorite tracks off that. If you just want to go give those tracks a listen, let me know how you liked them. Honestly, I could sit here for 35 minutes and break down every single track because they're all that good. They all mean something to me. But the last one I do really want to talk about is the ending track. This thing is fantastic. It is called Live and Die Forever, and although it might not be my favorite written song, it is pretty campy, but I ended up really loving it, and it left on such a sweet note on the album, and it also made me really want to just repeat it over again and listen to it over again, which I did last night. I listened to it twice all the way through, right again, and part of that was that ending track. It ends the album so well. It brings such a great message. It really just kind of made me think and reminisce about every other song, what they were trying to bring with the emotions. I really kind of feel like that song towards the end, the ending track, Live and Die Forever. It's so great, and I really do think it makes me think about just what the Growlers are trying to communicate about love, about loving your family, and just about being nice to people, honestly, which is a song topic that's done multiple times, but no one's done it better than like the Growlers here. I really love this thing, and I think it's a fantastic closer to this album. So guys, in the end, the Growlers Natural Fare is my favorite album of the year. This thing is flawless for me. Every single track, all 12 tracks, I loved. I had a smile on my face every single song, and I was honestly so excited for the next one to come. Every song hit me just the way I wanted it to. They all have such great lyrics. I can tell there's so much passion behind this project, and I honestly do think that this is their best album. It's so wonderful in every way possible, and I've only just barely scratched the surface of everything I love about this album, but I really want you guys to go listen to it, make up your own mind about whether or not you like this thing. But as for me, this is my favorite album of the year. Music is my favorite thing ever. And for me to love an album this much on first listen, to where every single song, even my least favorite song on the album, I could still listen to all day. I love this thing. The Growlers' 7th album, Natural Affair, is fantastic. It's got amazing choruses, perfect production, great track list, really good pacing. You never get bored. I love this thing from start to finish, and I'm gonna give it an A+. My first and only A+ of the year. I loved this album so much, and I really hope you guys too. And it's not much that I could put into words. Like I say, when I really love something this much, I try to go off script, and I kind of did that here while I was looking down at my notes and whatnot. But in the very end of this video, I just want to say thank you, Growlers, for making one of my favorite albums. I've only listened to it about 3 times all the way through, and it's already broke that top 10. I love this thing, and I can tell this is one that I'm going to be going back to for years, smiling, singing along with every single song on this thing. I love it. The Growlers Natural Affair, A+, favorite album of the year, and I'll see you guys next time. That's all I have to say.